ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for taking us all through the 16 chapters. Now we are nearing the final chapters of Gita. Today, I guess we would be starting off with the chapter 17.
Now we are into the slog overs.
Yes, yes, the climax of the Gita. And,
Yes,
uh, and Prabhu, there are
the
a lot of
climax and the
questions.
slog overs means that it cannot get better than this. The
Yes,
excitement builds up at the end.
yes, Prabhu. And all through 16 chapters we had a lot of questions, but our questions never stopped, and I have a lot of questions for this chapter as well. So if with your permission, can I start?
Yes, yes.
So Prabhu, the language of religion is belief, as we all know, and while that of science is considered to be facts. While religion's precondition one to have a set of beliefs and then seeing the world from that belief lens. And in the former days, Prabhu, when science wasn't developed yet, it was acceptable that people took support of some belief to make sense of reality. But as science has developed in the recent days, in the with all the inventions and discoveries, uh, is it still necessary for those beliefs in the society? Those beliefs have a place in today's day and age?
Okay, so your first statement to begin with was a belief in itself that religion speaks the language of belief and science speaks the language of facts. Think about it. Maybe you want to not live with that belief because a scientific mind doesn't take anything for granted or assumptions. So the science on of its own accord is built on a set of beliefs. There are a number of set of beliefs that the entire world is based on natural phenomena which can be explained based on mechanistic natural laws. So that's the first assumption that science begins with, and which is not necessarily true. Hmm. Which at least is an assumption to begin with, and it assumes that natural laws exist all by themselves, hmm, without any supernatural power behind it. तो ये सेकंड assumption हो गया. तो पहला assumption है कि जो सारा वर्ल्ड है it's based on natural phenomena with which are caused by natural mechanistic laws. So everything around the world can be boiled down to certain formulas, huh? And then these formulas define everything. Beyond this formula, there is no higher power. Which, okay, even if we assume that the world is just run by certain formulas, who created those formulas? Uh, there is an assumption that no one created. So the science also has a belief that no one created these laws, no one created these natural phenomena. And I'm talking of mechanistic science. Not all scientists uh, assume these things. There are scientists who clearly say that, who clearly quote unquote believe that there is a higher power, a superior intelligence, a creator behind all the phenomena and behind the natural laws. So Yeah. But now let's go into Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter, which which has a very beautiful understanding on faith or belief. Hmm? The 17th chapter, Arjuna inquires because in the 16th chapter there was a discussion about divine and demoniac beings. The entire world is comprised of divine nature and demoniac natures. And when we trace the root of that divine nature, it was based on scriptural injunctions, and demoniac nature was based on um, contempt of scriptural injunctions, hmm, based on defying scriptural injunctions. And then now the question arises that that certain people they have faith, hmm, and they follow the scriptures. Certain people don't have faith, they don't follow the scriptures, right? Certain people follow the scriptures without faith. Certain people don't follow the scriptures but have faith. So to understand this dynamics of faith and scriptures, this 17th chapter has been initiated by a question of Arjuna. Yeah. So that's where we begin the 17th chapter. The question of people following scriptures with faith, following scriptures but without faith, not following scriptures but having faith, not following scriptures and not having faith. So there could be a number of permutation combinations, and then especially to understand how does faith play a role in one becoming divine or demoniac, hmm, apart from following scriptures. So here, an answer to the question of Arjuna from 17th chapter, 2nd verse to 4th verse, Krishna gives a very beautiful concept. It's a very eye-opening and mind-expanding concept. So let me read out the verse for you. So Krishna says, त्रिविधा भवति श्रद्धा देहिनां स्वभावजा सात्विकी राजसी चैव तामसी चेति ताम शृणु. That faith of people, shraddha of people, has three divisions. Different people have shraddha um, based on sattvagun, rajogun, or tamogun. And where do they get this faith from? Where do they get a satoguni faith, rajoguni faith, and tamoguni faith from? Swabhavaja. This faith is born from their swabhav. Next, next verse. Satvanurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata shraddha mayo ayam purusho yoga shraddha saeva sa. The faith corresponds to the nature of one's internal self, personality. Man is made of his faith. He becomes similar to whichever form he worships with faith. So here Krishna is talking about the interplay of faith and personality, Shraddha and Swabhav. The second verse, Krishna said, people have different types of faith, different types of Shraddha, Satvik, Rajasik, Tamasic. And where are they getting this Shraddha from? From their Swabhav. In the next verse, Krishna is saying, Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha bhavati bharata. And श्रद्धामयो अयम पुरुषो. आपके स्वभाव के अनुसार आपकी श्रद्धा बनती है और आपके श्रद्धा के अनुसार आपका स्वभाव बन जाता है. श्रद्धामयम अयम पुरुषो. The person is made up of faith. Your personality makes your faith, and your faith makes your personality. So here Krishna is speaking of a very interesting concept. Generally, when we talk of personality, we talk of a certain trait Someone has a type of personality. So would you like to define personality in terms of certain traits? Give examples. Okay, I'll give an example. Um, a person is very cheerful. Hmm, is a personality trait. What other you give? You just let thoughts flow out. You can type in the chat box.
Mm. The person seems to be very depressed. Or, yeah, means,
Okay, to define someone, you can say the person is depressed. I said someone is cheerful. Huh? Or here, okay, person is thoughtful. That is a way to define someone, right? Hmm. Thoughtful, cheerful, depressed, or as Gopiji was saying, lazy, someone always sleeping. So if you want to make a silhouette of a person, hmm, कि silhouette means उसका एक आप उसका एक तस्वीर निकालना चाहते हो, you want to make a picture of that person, so you give these words, and all of these words, these traits, they define that person. Mhm. And there are personality development courses. Hmm. So and people have a set of traits, right? Someone is thoughtful but is also depressed. Someone is cheerful but also lazy. And any person would have a number of such, maybe scores of, hundreds of such personality traits which make up that person. But Krishna is saying, ki leave aside all of those 100 traits. If you have to pin down a person to one trait, if you really in one word define a person's personality, hmm, you can just focus on the faith. Otherwise, personality development course means what do you want to develop? It's so vague. There are so many things which a person's personality is can be made up of. So here Krishna is saying, Satvanurupa Sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata Shraddhomayam Arvayam Purusha. A person is basically a sum total of his faith. Faith is the building block of personality. Your faith builds your personality, and your personality builds your faith. So you cannot simplify personality more than this, the way Krishna has put it. And now, okay, now you might be wondering, ki bhai, faith, you have not defined faith or Shraddha, right? You have told us that if you want to pinpoint or really capture someone's personality, you just capture their faith. Hmm? So, and you can then get a hold of their personality, and then you can work on developing that personality. So, how do you define faith, Shraddha? Isn't that this is the next logical question, Surya? Hmm?
yes, bro.
So, Shraddha is a Sanskrit word which means Shrat Dha. Shrat means above, Dha means situated. So Shraddha is basically the platform on which one is situated. Another meaning of Shraddha is where one's heart is situated, hmm, or where you invest your heart. You are not where your feet are, you are where your heart is. Hmm? So, right now, um, all of you are at different locations, but your heart is in the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore you are all now on a Sunday evening there on this Zoom, room where we are together discussing Gita. So you are not where your feet are, you are where your heart is. And that holds true for everyone. Someone is sitting in the classroom, but his heart is in the cricket match. So they are not in the classroom, they are in the cricket match in the stadium. So basically, that's what Shraddha means. Shraddha means where you have invested your heart and your emotions. And so Krishna is saying that there is no person who says that I don't have, you know, mm, I am not having any faith. Hmm. I don't have any belief. Krishna says it's not possible. Everyone has a faith and belief system. No one can say I'm completely objective. You must have a certain, you know, place or person or in which you invest your faith. Hmm. Because faith is comprises our personality. So what now Krishna makes it more explicit in the fourth verse. What does he mean? He says, Yajante satvika devan yaksha rakshamsi rajasa pretan bhutaganam shanye yajante tamasa jana. So Krishna is further saying hmm, that those who are in the mode of goodness, hmm, they have a different place or different uh, object on which they invest their faith. Those who are in passion, they invest their faith in a different object, and those in ignorance, they invest their faith in a different object. Irrespective of who one is, one cannot uh, be beyond the three modes. One has to be within goodness, passion, or ignorance. And if one is in goodness, one is bound by that goodness to invest his faith in an object corresponding to goodness. One is in passion, he is bound to invest his faith in an object corresponding to passion and ignorance. One is bound to invest their faith in an object corresponding to ignorance. And what are these three objects? So, the person who's typically in goodness, now we are coming to personality. Someone who is in goodness, hmm, what is their personality constituted of? They have faith in yajante satvikan devan. Those who are in goodness, they have the faith in higher power. They don't uh, looking at this world, experiencing this world, they have an innate understanding and faith that devan, there are there's a divine energy, divine power, divine force who is governing everything. Nothing is has come about by chance. There is a higher power, a divine power, who is a benevolent power, who is running the show. Hmm? With all the laws that we see, the natural laws, behind those laws, there's this the lawmaker, the divine lawmaker. So they worship a divine power. Now that divine power may take different forms. Someone may worship the devatas, Surya, hmm? Surya Dev, आपका नहीं बोलूँगा. Surya or Indra or Vayu or uh, say Shiva, Brahma, or the Supreme Lord Vishnu. If someone is fortunate enough, one understands that that behind this creation there are the devatas, and behind the devatas there is the supreme hmm, uh, source of all devatas, that is the Supreme Lord Shiv, Krishna. So that is someone who is worship of the Satvika. Those who are in goodness, they worship. They understand that there is a higher power that is governing everything. Okay, what is the faith of those who are in passion? Yaksha Rakshamsi Rajasa. Very interesting. Yaksha. Yaksha are a category uh, of celestial people who are invisible to humans in general, hmm, but they have certain mystical powers, mystical abilities. Hmm. So yakshas, so Manushas, uh, So there are different gradations of living entities. So there are 14 planetary systems. On these 14 planetary systems, different gradations of living entities reside. On this Bhuloka, the humans and the animals and the trees reside, who have to undergo birth, death, old age, disease, and finally death. Above the Bhuloka is Bhuvar Loka, and then Swarg Loka. So in the Bhuvar Loka, there are the Yakshas and Rakshasas. And Yakshas and Rakshasas are in the Bhuvar Loka, and above them is the Swarga Loka, where there are the Devas, the Devalok. So the, the people in the Bhuvar Loka, the Yakshas and Rakshasas, who have some mystical powers, who have some superhuman magic powers, mystic powers. So those who are in passion, they they worship these people who have some mystic powers. Now you will ask, अरे आज के जनरेशन में किसको विश्वास है ये यक्षा ये राक्षसा, मतलब who has seen, and no one believes in them. But we are talking about the principle. When Krishna is speaking here, Deva, the Satvikas worship Deva. So I said Deva represents a higher spiritual divine power who is benevolent. Someone who is worshipping with that principle, they are in goodness. Then so those who are not worshipping that divine power who is benevolent, they are enamored by anyone who has got mystic power. कि यार ये जादू, मतलब इसके पास कुछ तो शक्ति है, कुछ जादू है, right? And then they become enamored and attracted to that. So that is the principle of Yaksha Rakshasa worship. That when you are attracted and enamored by people who have some opulence or some mystic powers. So, for example, you see even in human society, people have some mysticism. Now, mysticism and glamour, yeah, mysticism can put you under a spell, isn't it? And glamour also puts you under a spell. Yeah, you have celebrities walking by and people go mad, मतलब उनको आते जाते व्हीकल नहीं दिख रहे हैं, अरे वो सेलिब्रिटी उधर भाग के साथ में सेल्फी लेने जाए, बीच में कोई ट्रक उड़ा दे, कुछ परवाह नहीं है. Yeah, you are under a spell. Yeah, so that's yaksha worship. You are after a yaksha who has some mystic power, some power to mesmerize you, to captivate you, to cast a spell on you. So whether it is Hollywood actors, actresses, Bollywood actors, actresses, cricket stars, sports stars, politicians. So someone who worships a person based on their um, based on the powers and the opulences that they have, that is basically Rajasic worship. And someone may say, oh, I don't believe in any god or something. But then you see somewhere down the line, they idolize. They have their idols. They idolize some Bollywood actor, actress. Yes, and उसका हम example भी देख सकते हैं. You have temples of Bollywood actors. अमिताभ बच्चन का टेम्पल है, हाँ. सोनिया गांधी का मंदिर है. You know, in India, people can have temple of anyone. So people, because they are enamored by that personality, but they say, we are very scientific. We don't have any beliefs. So you may superficially not have any belief, but deep within your worldview, your heart is invested in that person. And so now people who are sattvic worshippers, their heart is invested in that supreme benevolent power. आपका heart उधर invested नहीं है, doesn't mean that you are great, glorious, objective, scientific. No, your heart is invested in a more unscientific so-called, unscientific object in a fallible human who is uh, presenting some mystic powers or abilities or some glamour, right? So, and based on that, where you invest your heart, you develop a worldview. You look at the world from that lens, and then that's how you make your decisions. So, and then there are people who are in the mode of ignorance. Krishna says, Bhutaganamscha anye. Those who are in tamas or mode of ignorance, they worship the bhutas, the pretas, the pishachas, the ghostly beings. Now, these are people who are so deep down in materialistic conception of life that they, those who worship the devas, they worship the positive spiritual energy. Those who worship the yakshas and rakshasas, they worship the mundane mystical energy, hmm, which is visible, hmm, which some miracle they can show. But those who are in ignorance, they worship the dark negative energy. So those who are in goodness, they worship the positive spiritual energy, but those who are in ignorance, they worship the dark negative energy. And so you have people worshipping, in Prabhupada writes in the purport that people find if a tree is haunted by a ghost, they'll go and worship that tree because they want to get that power of that ghost to do unscrupulous acts. Iska vashikaran, ye, wo. Means people can go into very perverted forms of things to be able to fulfill their perverted desires. So, overall, what Krishna is saying here is that every individual, his personality, his or her personality, his or her behavior, conduct, personality traits, if you want to boil it down to one thing, it's their faith. And faith means heart. Where you invest your heart blossoms your personality in that particular direction. Hmm? So those who are in who have their faith in goodness, they will worship a divine higher power. Those who are in passion, they will worship the glamorous and the glittering and the mystical people, showing certain opulences. And those who are in ignorance, they will worship the ghostly beings. Hmm? So faith you must have.
Yes. Thank you, bro, for breaking it down so well. And whenever we read Gita and we read certain things which are related to the three modes, we are not able to relate well. As in, as you mentioned, the mode of passion, the glamour we see here, we can connect how people are worshipping the glamour and how people, and when talking about ignorance and how people are worshipping the negative aspects. So thank you for making it more clear and Prabhu. Prabhu, we talked about faith, and when the topic of faith comes, we relate it to religion. So, Prabhu, one doubt I have is, aren't all religions the same? Why should there be any gradation or comparison or ranking among religions? So, if there is any, so is it like the one with the universities we see this that this university is better than this one, or like corporates working in Reliance is better than working in so and so company? So, is that how it works?
Okay. Uh, so, are all religions same? Hmm. Intuitively, yes. If you look at it, why in the world would one religion express itself or boast itself to be better than someone else? By doing that act itself, that religion has proved itself to be inferior. Hmm? Because religion is supposed to breed divinity. Yeah. And And materialism is supposed to breed competition and conflict, isn't it? Quite that's our intuitive and very natural understanding. Religion is supposed to breed divinity in people, and it's materialism which breeds conflict and competition, right? So if religion, and if some religion says that, oh, our religion is better than theirs, by default they are giving rise to competition and conflict. So by default they are disqualified in the so-called race of religions. Hmm? So the answer to your question is yes and no. So is there gradation in religion? Are all religions the same? Yes. The answer is yes. And the answer is also no. We need some degree of nuancing. Yeah. So the cause behind all religions, the cause for any religion to exist theoretically is very noble. The purpose and the cause for any religion to exist theoretically is to connect to the divinity, connect to the supreme Lord, connect to the supreme divine, hmm, and develop divinity within us, right? To connect to the supreme divine and to develop divinity within us. So the cause and the purpose which all the religions are mm, supposed to and uh, are supposed to follow is noble. Hmm? Very similar to a school or a hospital. Now, the cause for which a hospital is run, isn't it by constitution noble? By constitution, a hospital is a very noble mm, establishment, and so also the school. Yes. So by default, by definition, a hospital and a school is a noble establishment. So similarly, religion, irrespective of which religion you are talking of, you cannot question the cause. The cause, at least theoretically, is very noble and very divine. Hmm? Now, irrespective of now the cause, we agree that for all schools and hospitals to exist, the cause is noble. But then, isn't it that the level of education and the degree of treatment in these schools and hospitals respectively has different levels? There are schools, kindergarten schools. So yeah, so they cater to kids for kindergarten. That's their specialization. वो उसमें स्पेशलाइज करते हैं किंडरगार्टन में द बेस्ट स्कूल और प्री प्राइमरी schools, or you have schools till uh, you know higher secondary schools, senior secondary schools. So then you have, so senior secondary schools will take you to 12th standard, but then there are universities, there are colleges which you will give you specialization in a particular field, but then there are universities which will give you super specialization, right? So so can I say that because at kindergarten school doesn't give us PhD, so that kindergarten school is inferior? No, that kindergarten school serves the purpose for giving education, which is a holy and which is a sacred cause, right? But it doesn't take you to PhD because that's not meant for it to do. Hmm? It is doing the job of bringing you to, teaching you kindergarten stuff very nicely. Okay, let it be. So, and then hospitals also, you have a local clinic. You have a local clinic where a doctor sits, and then now just because a doctor doesn't have a multi-bed facility in that clinic, does it mean that you should close that clinic? No, it serves a purpose. People come for small ailments, they come because it's close to their locality, they meet the doctor, they get the treatment and then go. But if they have some chronic ailment or a more serious admission required, then that clinic will not suffice. They need to go to a more advanced hospital, and then there are super specialized hospitals. So super specialty hospital. So just because a super specialty hospital has super specialization, does it mean that you close the clinic? No. Yeah. So all are required. Hmm. That is one thing. Second thing is, now the cause of school and hospital to exist is sacred. But is it not that there are certain schools and hospitals which are running sinister and criminal activities under the cover of education and health care? Huh? uh, in the name of education, there is so much of black money being converted to white, or in the name of hospitals, the kidneys are being stolen. तो ये भी तो हो रहा है. So that means we need to have the intelligence to understand that there are the cause of a school and a hospital is noble, but then not every school and hospital will fulfill that cause, may go against that cause also. Yeah, it may be just a money making industry. So similarly, the cause for theoretically for any religion to exist is noble, but then in the name of religion, there may be establishments who are having ulterior motives. Yeah. So that's what Krishna is trying to do in the 17th chapter. Krishna is saying, look, Baba, the cause for any religious establishment to exist is to uplift your faith. Hmm. But then uh, there will be religious institutions who are in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance, right? And they have their different forms of worship, different religious practices, um, which are prescribed based on the level to which they take you, and also based on the purity of those institutions. Yes. So yagya, dana, and tapa, Krishna describes that any religious institution caters to these three things. It has yagya, which is meant to satisfy the Adi Daivik, which is meant to satisfy the Daivik, which is the divine powers or the Supreme Lord. Adi Atmik, that which is supposed to purify our own body and mind. And Adi Bhautik. So Tapa is for the Adhyatmic, and Dana is for the Adhibhautik. Adhibhautik means for the other living entities. That we do to liquidate the debts towards other living entities is Adhibhautik, which is done through Dana. So any religious institution will have rituals and practices for Yagya. Yagya means how to satisfy the Supreme. Tapa, how to purify oneself. And Dana, how to liquidate the debt towards other living entities. So any religion will have practices for this, but based on the level of that institution, the gradation of the education that they, spiritual education that they offer, hmm, they will have, different levels of this yagya, dana, and tapa. So Krishna describes that that you can those who are in goodness, they have a certain standard of yagya, dana, tapa. Those who are in passion, they have a different set of standards of the yagya, dana, and tapa. And those who are in ignorance, they have a different lower standard of yagya, dana, and tapa. So how do you define if someone has a high standard or low standard? Krishna says three things. If you want to measure or assess what are the standards, you know, to which that religious institution can take you, you need to see three things. One is uh, Shraddha, Vidhi, and Ashaya. Shraddha means what is the faith with which the person is carrying out or that institution is carrying out their practices. Do they have sincere faith? Yeah. Or sincere faith is mode of goodness. Or no faith. That is mode of passion. मतलब hardly any faith. Just spiritualistic. Or contemptuous. Contempt towards God. So that is mode of ignorance. Now you have demons who are worshipping, who are doing मतलब अभी हिरण्यकश्यप भी बहुत तपस्या कर रहे हैं but ultimately he is having contempt towards God. What is the faith? Hmm? And you have on the other hand Prahlad, sincere faith, hmm, on nursing them. Then next is Vidhi or the codes. Hmm. So all the codes of conduct which they practice. So done. So if the codes, if the practices or the rituals are done um, under the direction of scriptures, which with due reasoning and proper rituals, that is goodness. Hmm? If it is done as per the scriptures with proper ritual, but also knowing the reasoning behind the ritual, that is goodness. But someone is doing just the ritual without any reasoning, that is passion. Yes, you're just doing without understanding the meaning and purpose behind it. That is passion. And someone who is whimsically doing, मर्जी है जैसे कर रहा हूँ, that is mode of ignorance. And these days, many of the these religious functions, they are they are done whimsically. Uh, Whimsically, people introduce new and deviant rituals. For example, I don't know from where the hmm, what is that? One day in the marriage ceremony has been kept for Bollywood Sangeet. Hmm. Now, where is this ritual coming from? One day has been kept for what is that shooting? Bridegroom का
Pre-wedding photo shoot.
हाँ प्री वेडिंग फोटो शूट अभी वो उसमें ऐसे इतना सब मतलब लाइक काइंड ऑफ obscene photo shoot in the name of marriage, which is supposed to be a sacred institution. Now, where this is whimsical, and when it comes to the real ritual, hmm, जूते लो पैसे दो उसमें लोगों का ध्यान लगा है वो कोई बॉलीवुड का किसी फालतू पंकज इसके ऊपर से कुछ तो रिचुअल बना दिया और now everyone's attention is on that whereas the attention should be on the mantras. And what are the mantras? Mantras are so you know uh, which are solemnizing the vow that in the name of God, in the name of fire, in the name of all those elders, all the deities, we solemnize that I am here to take care of you, to serve you, to be you know um, a worthy partner. So all of that is forgotten. The reasoning is forgotten. The ritual is whimsical. That's mode of ignorance. And then ashay means what is the purpose or desire or motivation. So if the purpose is selfless or out of a matter of duty, that is goodness. When the purpose behind all of the yagya, dan, and tapa that one does is selfish, I have ulterior motivations. I do this yagya, what will I get? I do this dana, will I get name? मेरा name plate लगेगा क्या? I do this tapa, what I'll get in return? Hmm. That is mode of passion and mode of ignorance. Religious practices are meant for destruction of others. Hmm. Basically, performing any religious functions to get some dark power so that I can destroy others. And so much violence in the name of religion is basically accumulating dark powers for others' destruction. Yeah. So yes, that's the understanding that the prima facie, the cause, the purpose for different religions to exist is very glorious, very holy, very noble. But then, just as a school which is pre-primary school, hmm, or a primary school, or a senior secondary school, or a college or university, they all have a good reason to exist, because they cater to different levels of students. You cannot pick up a kindergarten student and directly push them into PhD class. And at the same time, and so while everyone can exist, but we should also need to filter out and see that there are religious institutions which don't fulfill the holy cause of the institution itself, right? Which have uh, violence, which have contempt of other religious traditions, destruction of others at the root of their existence. So that religion doesn't fulfill the purpose of religion, which is to bring out the divinity in the humanity. Yeah. If a religion is bringing out the devility in humanity rather than bringing out a divine, bringing out a devil, then that's not religion, that's irreligion and should not be accepted as religion. Okay, bro.
Thank you, Prabhu. Can you summarize those Shraddha, Ashay, and
Vidhi,
Vidhi, right? Uh, rituals.
the
Hmm.
rituals.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, recently I had been to an Ayurvedic doctor and, with some issues of mine, long pending issues. So they told me instead of treating the symptoms, they told me your problem is your food habits, the way you are eating, the way you are at what time you are eating. They are not good for your body. So I was just wondering, does Geeta have any advice on food habits, Prabhu? Good food habits?
That's interesting. Gita has answers to everything. Um, Even Gita, Krishna becomes your Ayurvedic doctor. Hmm. Krishna can become your speech therapist, as further on in the chapter. So, so Krishna is amazing. And in the 17th chapter, Krishna, in the 8th to 10th verse, you remember he spoke about faith in three modes. And then he says faith से आपका personality बनता है और आपका personality के हिसाब से आपका खान पान होता है, आपका रहन सहन खान पान आपके personality के अनुसार होता है. So therefore we should also be conscious of where our faith is, because our faith will determine our lifestyle and our food habits. Someone who is having a rajasic faith, they are bound to have a rajasic food habit. Someone who have a tamasic faith, they will have a tamasic food habits, and those tamasic and rajasic food habits are unhealthy. Hmm? So, so, so Krishna is talking about, in the 8th to 10th verse, the kind of food habits people in three modes have. So he says, आयु सत्व बल आरोग्य सुख प्रीति विवर्धना रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृदया ahara सात्विका प्रिया. So Krishna is saying that what food is supposed to do, food is supposed to increase ayu, lifespan. Hmm. uh, Sattva, food is supposed to increase your willpower. होता है क्या ऐसा? फूड की वजह से हमारा विल पावर बढ़ता है कि कम हो जाता है? हम्म खाना खाने के बाद में धराशायी हो जाते हैं, सोच के कि आज इतना पढ़ना है इतना करना है, बट खाना खाने के बाद एवरीथिंग गोज फॉर अ टॉस. So food is supposed to increase your willpower. Bala, food is supposed to increase your strength. Yeah, many times the reverse happens. After eating food, you you become so lazy. It doesn't. And arogya, it gives is supposed to give you immunity to diseases. Sukha, priti, So food is supposed to give you happiness and pleasure, right? So, but how do I, what are the food now? We are all interested. Yes, I want to know if food is supposed to give me Ayu, who will not want, uh, um, anti-aging properties? क्या बोलते हो? Anti-aging active oxidants, क्या बोलते हैं? Antioxidants.
Antioxidants.
Hmm?
Hmm.
Active antioxidants. So who will not want इतने महंगे महंगे दवाइयाँ लोग लेते हैं. सो एंटीऑक्सीडेंट मिल सकता है फूड से, तो भाई कौन सा फूड है ऐसा सत्व जो मेरा विल पावर इंक्रीज करे भाई. बड़ी मुश्किल है, विल पावर नहीं मिल रही है. बला, स्ट्रेंथ, आरोग्य, डिजीज फ्री कर दे. सो कृष्ण इज सेइंग सिंपल, यू ईट फूड इन मोड ऑफ गुडनेस. रस्या, स्निग्धा, स्थिरा, हृदया. So these are the four characteristics of food which are in mode of goodness. Rasya, which have natural rasa, hmm, which have natural flavors, not artificial flavors. Snigdha, snigdha is, uh, which are very wholesome and mm, very succulent. So snigdha. Sthira. Sthira is which are bulky, hmm, right? Fatty. And hridya. Hridya is beneficial. So basically, these rasya, snigdha, sthira, hridya, they refer to organic food received from the vegetarian kingdom. Hmm? Yeah, organic vegetarian food is what provides Ayu, Sattva, Bal, Arogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhana. Hmm? So that organic vegetarian food is juicy, tasty, it's mild, it's wholesome, and it's beneficial. Hmm. And then Krishna talks about food in mode of passion. Any food which is excessively bitter, excessively sour, excessively salty, hot, pungent, dry, or burning, which produces pain while eating, sorrow afterwards, and finally disease, is dear to the Rajasic people. So, chili, too much chili, too much, and too much of anything, excessive, excessive sugar also, excessive, bitter, excessive, um, excessive fried, deep fried, all of these things, they come in the category of passion. And what is food in the mode of ignorance? Yata yamam gatarasam, stale food, food without taste, bad smelling or rotten food, leftover from others, and impure food. So basically, rotten food kya hai? The, the meat, the fish, the कोलीवाड़ा, सब ना बंद करके जाते हैं. क्यों? Because it's rotten, Baba, flesh which is rotten. And yamam, stale food, which has been, so as per Ayurveda and Bhagavad Gita, you should eat food within 3 hours of cooking. Ideally 1.5 hours of cooking. But in 3 hours में कंज्यूम कर लो. कुछ फूड को थोड़ा और घंटा भी रख सकते हैं. But ideally within 3 hours. But today is the fashion of packaged food stuff. वो मतलब everything has to come from packets. वो पैकेट को काटा, वो प्लास्टिक को फेंका. अभी मैं फ्रेश, दिस इज फ्रेश, फार्म फ्रेश नहीं है वो, पैकेट फ्रेश है. उसका पैकेट है बाहर, वो फ्रेश है. अंदर जो है वो 3 महीना पुराना है, उसमें बहुत सारा प्रिजर्वेटिव्स है. वो फ्रोजन है, एंड व्हेन यू फ्रीज फूड इट डाइज. आपको डीप फ्रीज में रख देंगे तो आपका क्या होगा? you cannot survive more than a day, right? So when food is also put in, so we are made up of our food. If we cannot survive in deep freeze, can the food survive? Externally it survives, but internally all of its rasa gets all of its active, mm, you know, nourishing capability is, its prana shakti is taken away. So therefore, the scriptures describe that it should be fresh food, organic food, and it's quite mm, logical, and that food cannot be a product of factories. Food is a product of the fields. Hmm. But these days, food is handled like a raw material of a factory. Hmm. मतलब रेस्टोरेंट में स्वाद के नाम पे वो कुछ भी डालते हैं. Food is just handled like a raw material. Kind sizzler बनाएंगे, ये बनाएंगे, वो बनाएंगे. Means treating food like a piece of dump. भाई वो प्राण है. You have to respect food. You have to respect grains. उसके साथ तुम कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते हो. There are particular combinations, right? अगर आप, if you keep a very talkative person in the same room with an introvert person, क्या होगा? एक्सप्लोजन हो जाएगा. हाँ, लड़ाई झगड़ा हो जाएगा, right? They can't coexist. But अभी there is no consideration of क्या किसके साथ जाएगा. Hot ice cream, कुछ भी combinations. So that doesn't work within the body, right? So it's good here, but when it goes inside, it causes damage, it causes havoc. And so that needs to be kept in mind. Otherwise, we are seeing that actually food which is supposed to give life is taking away life. There are so many diseases, heart diseases, cancer, etc. What is cancer? Cancer is basically the cells within the body becoming matter. They instead of behaving like life, they are behaving like matter. Yeah. So and life comes from life. Life doesn't come from matter. But when we are trying to produce food from factories, we are actually creating a recipe for cancerous substances within the body. Yes, Prabhu. So that's it.
Do we have time for some more questions, or
Okay,
should we?
let's do a question, one more question, and see.
Bro, just a brief thing. You mentioned in the starting of the question that Geeta has also advised on speech in communication. So could you just briefly tell us about that?
Okay. Yes, in the further verses, Krishna is talking about austerity. Krishna spoke about food in three modes, then Krishna speaks about sacrifices in three modes, and then Krishna speaks of austerity in three modes. And in austerities in three mode, Krishna says especially about austerity for the body, for the mind, and for the words. And what is austerity for the words? Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vangmaya tapa uchyate. So what is the austerity for the speech is to install the filter. Hmm. So just like you have Bharat 6 or Euro emission standards for vehicles. Yeah. So your vehicle should not produce such, only this much level of hazardous emissions are permissible. And beyond that, your vehicle will be scrapped. Yeah. Right. So there are certain standards for the vehicles to minimize the pollution. So there's pollution of the air caused by the emissions from these vehicles. There's pollution of the sound, pollution of the ether because of the very polluting speech that is coming out from um, you know from now social media has given an amplifier to everyone. to speak whatever they want, whatever whoever, to whoever they want, however they want. Right? Someone said, "What does it take to start an argument on social media?" Nothing. Just write a comment and wait for half an hour. You say anything, and there are 10 people to jump on it, and for no reason start a quarrel. Yeah, and you know, uh, wise people say open their mouth because they have something to say. Wise people open their mouth because they have something to say. Foolish people, they open their mouth because they want to say something. I want to say something. Hmm. So, you know, um, so wise people, they think before they speak. Hmm. And foolish people, they speak and then think what happened, right? Why it happened. So, so therefore, we need to install these filters that before we speak, we need to ensure that what I am speaking, will it create pollution in my life and in lives of others? Then better to filter that out. So Krishna is saying, अनुद्वेगा. पहली बात कुछ भी बोलना जा रहे हो, इससे सामने वाला व्यक्ति एजिटेट होने वाला है क्या, या उसको कुछ शांति मिलने वाली है? एजिटेट होने वाला है, चुप चुप, डोंट स्पीक इट. Then he says, Satyam, what you are going to speak, uh, is there truth in it? Do a 3 bucket test. Is it truthful? Yes. Okay, good. No, then don't speak it. Maybe verify it. So, Satyam, is it truthful? Okay, what I am speaking, the truth is truthful, but सच कड़वा होता है. सच कड़वा होता है, लेकिन उसको मीठे तरीके से प्रेजेंट किया जा सकता है. Priyam. So whatever you are going to speak, will it be, can it be
Prabhu,
spoken in a,
I'm not able to.
huh? So whatever we are going to speak, is it audible?
Now it's not able to.
So whatever we are going to speak should be audible also, but it should be pleasing also. Hmm? Yeah. So it should be spoken in a pleasing way, not in an agitating way, right? And for that, one has to see, you need to check whether you are the right person. The same thing, a feedback which is given by an unknown person, will be kind of unsettling, as the feedback given by a very close, mm, friend will be very happily taken, right? So even if you have to speak the truth, ask yourself, are you the right person to tell the truth, or can it be told by someone else in a pleasing way, right? So pleasing. And third is beneficial. Is it going to benefit the other person? Hmm? It may be truthful, it may be pleasing, but then beneficial nahi hai, so why you want to spend your energy and their energy, right? So this is Krishna's advice on speech. Hmm? So yeah, it's very important and helpful. I'm not professing that I am applying this, but at least I'll try now that I've spoken this. So we can take one last question and then close the session today and also the chapter.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, should it be an audience question or can I ask one?
You can ask one last question.
Uh, Prabhu, often phase of modern youth on religion is let down when they see people pretending and they're taking religious people being very egoistic and being proud behind their religious practices, rituals, and the austerity they do or what they give in charity by the so-called religious people. So, how religious people can be so hollow and shallow, Prabhu?
Hmm. So it's continuing from what we discussed about the different gradations of religion. Uh-huh. So we need to understand that There are people um, who are in mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are religious institutions who are in goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are practitioners in goodness, passion, and ignorance. And someone's now someone may be studying in a higher secondary school, senior secondary school, but may still be in kindergarten, right? So that person is coming from, मतलब से मैं say I am studying in दिल्ली पब्लिक सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल, बट उससे तुम पूछो कि भाई 2+2 क्या होता है, वो बोल रहा है 3। बोल रहे दिल्ली पब्लिक सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल में पढ़ता है, 2+2 4 नहीं आता है। अरे उससे पहले ये पूछो तुम कौन से स्टैंडर्ड में हो, वो बोलेगा मैं अभी किंडरगार्टन में। राइट, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं। राइट, so we need to know that people may be coming from a religious institution which is having super specialization, but they may be at a lower level. Hmm. And they are uh, they are in the right place, so eventually they will reform. That's what the purpose of any bona fide religion is, to reform people from their dark, negative, evil tendencies, corrupt tendencies, and refine them and bring out the divinity in them. So we need not become disillusioned with religion, seeing the performance of backbenchers. या आप किसी स्कूल को जज करोगे, करने के लिए जाओ और वहां के बैक बेंचर से 4 सवाल पूछो और बोले इनको कुछ नहीं आता, बेकार स्कूल है। अरे टॉपर से बात करो, स्कूल के टीचर से बात करो, देन यू विल अंडरस्टैंड ना। You just see a few laggards and backbenchers, and then you cannot make an opinion and judgment based on that, right? So so yeah, we'll see the whole picture and then take a call. So I'll rest my case here, and if there are any audience questions, reflections, comments, we can, take, can unmute. Thank you,
Yes.
Gopiji,
Thank you.
Subhashini ji, and Gopinath for joining. Uh, it gives us great boost to have all of you join, and gives us the right environment to churn these different themes and discussions.
Indeed, true. And on Sunday evening, it's very encouraging as well.
Yeah, so now we have closed in on the 17th chapter also, and now we are in the last over, final over, 18th.
Mm. Yeah.
We might take a couple of sessions for the 18th chapter, and
Mm.
then
Yeah.
we the journey doesn't end there. We
Indeed,
are
true. And we
planning to bring you more. Uh,
yes.
there are so many scriptures. There's Srimad Bhagavatam also,
Mm.
and we are thinking of deeper courses, on the Gita also. So that will come in future. Okay, there's a question here from Gopiji that how to make sure that we don't eat food which is in the mode of ignorance. So let's see what Krishna defines as food in mode of ignorance. Yata yamam gata rasam puti paryushitam chet. Hmm? Yata yamam. Yata yamam means which is stale. So as I said, uh, avoid packaged foods as far as possible. Hmm? All of these Ruffles, Lays, and Doritos, and all of these different, packaged foods, as far as possible, we should throw it out of the window. Hmm? That, so no need for going for packaged foods. Um, take in fresh foods as far as possible. Avoid going to the restaurants. Instead, cook nice food at home, offer to Krishna, and every day will become a festival, right? Because you don't know what, even if that restaurant boasts of cooking fresh food, but the person who is cooking, are you assured that the person is in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Most probably the person is in ignorance, and in the night, he goes and gets drunk and does whatnot, uh, and then comes to cook in the next day, right? So as far as possible, avoid packaged food. As far as possible, avoid Zomato and Swiggy and restaurants. Yeah, that's not Vedic culture. Ours is a culture of langar or prasad distribution, where food is offered to the Lord and distributed free. Ours not is not a culture of purchasing food. Mm. That's an insult to food, that you know just throw money and purchase food. You can't purchase food. Food is beyond our purchasing power. It's a divine gift of God. So that all we can avoid. And of course, puti paryushitam, which is bad smelling or rotten food. Of course, non-vegetarian food we all abstain by grace of Srila Prabhupada. uh, that is there. And mm, eating fresh food, uh, fruits, vegetables, grains, and there are hundreds of varieties of delicacies which can be made from that. And it's a great gift of Srimati Radharani. Prabhupada said ours is a kitchen religion. Hmm? And Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Srimati Radharani is the Supreme Personality of kitchen. Hmm? So she is presiding over, and so anyone who is cooking in the kitchen is actually assisting Srimati Radharani directly. Yeah, make that offering to Krishna. So it's a very, very sacred and very, very divine service. So, so we should actually glorify cooking, the art of cooking. We should we should celebrate uh, the art of cooking. We should celebrate those who have learned this art of cooking, and we should ourselves try to learn this art of cooking. These days cooking is looked down upon. Hmm? कि अरे वो तो मेड बना लेगी, वो तो बाहर से मंगा लेंगे, हम तो भाई काम पे जाएंगे, वो बड़ा काम होता है। अरे ये कुकिंग से बड़ा काम कोई नहीं है। श्रीमती राधा रानी, who is the topmost, whom even Krishna worships, her main service is cooking. And we here are so mm, obscured and perverted in our understanding that in this world we think that cooking is a low job. It's to feed the hunger is actually a very holy job. And what to speak of offering that food to Krishna. So does that make sense, Gopiji? Okay, so then we will conclude here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nithai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.